Robust, full-bodied, you might even say lusty, with a tantalizing hint of a softer, seductive quality.
What are you all about?
You, mon amour, you.
Good God, it's 8:30.
She'll be here. Don't worry. Well, it's just that she comes from a good family and they move in the sort of circles when it's not considered polite to arrive on time.
In which case, you'll be too polite to complain about food that'll be burnt to a frazzle.
Whereabouts you meet this young lady, Steve?
Karen. Her name's Karen. Well, fella's got to get lucky sometime.
I think I'm going to need this.
Yeah, and I'm in the right for being all virtuous. Yeah.
Forbes residence? Oh, terrific. Yeah, she's here. It's for you.
Who is it?
Your governor.
What does he want?
He wants to invite you out to a murder.
Address.
104 Byron Road.
That's the intersection of Tennyson and Shelley.
Poets' Corner.
Now, police doctor and photographer have been alerted. They shall be...
There before you. Seems fairly straightforward. Wife Basher gets his comeuppance, but have a shufty round before you wheel her in. If I get a chance, I'll join you over there. You want transport?
Oh, I'll borrow a broomstick. I've got to go.
What, like that?
Oh, no, I didn't feel properly dressed without my truncheon.
I'll drive you.
Hang about, Sergeant. I'll drive
No,
her.
no. It's going to be a long night. I don't want you turning up at the scene of a murder inquiry. I'll get my coat.
Seeing as you're driving.
Has anyone got any idea where D.I. Slater might be located? What do you have to do to get a verbal response around here?
Yes?
Okay.
Evening, Maggie, Jay. It's all right, come in. Dining room's this way.
Sound like a head waiter.
Oh, I'm au fait.
What's on the menu?
Body's through here.
Can you...
Shut up. Where's Mrs. Campbell?
In there.
How is she?
Doctor gave her a sedative, but she's coherent.
Who's the doctor?
Rennie.
Don't know.
He's gone. He's one of those, you know him, bit finicky. There's lots of glass. You will be careful.
Right, okay. Jake.
Thank you.
Bud, John. Has the body been moved?
I understand the neighbour, Mr. Hakins, turned the body over to Phil for a pulse. He thought to try mouth to mouth.
What decided against?
He decided the body was dead, yeah.
The doctor reached the same conclusion?
He certified death.
Did he examine Mrs. Campbell?
Yeah, she's been beaten up, quite badly. Also bruising around the throat as though someone had attempted to strangle her. Finger marks were quite livid.
Did she say anything?
Only that during the struggle, she struck her husband with a bottle.
How many times?
That's the perplexing thing.
Were you perplexed?
Well, that was the doctor's turn, actually. You see, he pointed out that there was obviously more than one blow. There had to be several blows, sufficient to shatter the skull and the bottle. Then there's the position of the body, face down here, when the first blow was allegedly struck here. Then you've got the concentration of glass fragments in this area.
Adds up to what, in your opinion?
Well, they're only observations, but In my view, they combined to throw some doubt on Mrs. Campbell's story.
Now, assuming that Mr. Campbell was struck just over here, isn't it possible that he stumbled, what, 1, 2, 3 paces and fell?
Well, yeah,
And regards to the glass fragments, well, when the bottle shattered, the pieces would naturally scatter, wouldn't they?
You're telling me I've been presumptuous.
No, but I think I'd rather wait for the pathologist's report. I jump to any conclusions. Mrs. Campbell's injuries, have they been photographed?
While the doctor was present.
All right, well done. Now, I want negatives that can be enlarged for every glass fragment on this floor. Oh, John, do it now before the undertaker's men turn up and start trampling. Yeah, I know. I've got a home to go to as well.
Looks fantastic. What is it?
Game pie.
Oh. I'm tempted to ask what an incredibly attractive girl like you is doing with someone like him.
Oh. I enjoy his company. He stimulates me. Does that answer your question?
I think I must have mistook your person all this while.
Ignore him. He's trying to wind me up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve, look at the table.
See what you mean about stimulating? He certainly keeps you on your toes, doesn't he?
Yeah, John, that'll do fine. Pete, when John and scene of crimes are finished, I need all this broken china collected.
Right.
And reassembled.
Reassembled?
Yeah, I want to glue it back together again.
The lap boys will go spare.
Stamp your foot. Oh, remains of the bottle in a separate cardboard box. No smudged prints.
Right.
It's all right, sit tight, I'm going to have a word. Oh, is anyone else in the house?
A boy, the son.
How old?
10, 11, he's upstairs.
Anyone with him?
WPC Evans.
You want,
Yes, I want him questioned. Options open, all right?
You say so. Teaching social workers in there.
Fraser?
The same.
How'd she get here?
Broomstick.
Must be catching.
Crystal gazing.
No, child on the premises, radioed in.
He's on the ball.
Thank you.
Look, Miss Fraser with you, Jean down here with me.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, well, Miss Fraser's very fond of you.
That's what alarms me.
Ah, Inspector.
Miss Fraser?
Mrs. Elaine Campbell, Detective Inspector Forbes.
Mrs. Campbell? I believe the doctor has treated you.
Superficially.
Sorry?
First aid, no more.
Apart from the bruising, Mrs. Campbell, did you sustain any other injuries?
Sure. Mrs. Campbell will need to be x-rayed. I suspect she has at least one cracked rib.
The doctor administered a sedative?
He gave her an injection, yes.
Well, now, Mrs. Campbell, naturally there are a lot of questions to be asked. And it would be better if you could tell us what happened while the events are still clear in your mind. Do you feel up to it?
I suggest that you interrogate Mrs. Campbell after she's been seen by an impartial medical practitioner and after she's been allowed to sleep off the effects of the drug.
And I suggest, Miss Fraser, that you allow Mrs. Campbell to answer for herself. Now, I'm not interrogating, I'm conducting an inquiry. If Mrs. Campbell wishes and chooses to remain silent, it is her prerogative, but I'd rather she reach that decision unprompted by you.
In the absence of a lawyer,
Mrs. Campbell has not been charged as yet.
I stand corrected.
Now, Mrs. Campbell.
I've got nothing to hide.
I have to caution you.
I think that's my cue to withdraw.
I take it you're here to deal with the son, the boy?
That is my principal task, yes.
Are there any relatives, close friends?
Unfortunately, no. Mr. Campbell was an orphan. Mrs. Campbell's only surviving relatives are elderly and in poor health.
Yes, well, Sergeant Barrett's waiting to question the boy. I'd be grateful if you'd accompany him.
My presence or that of a parent or guardian is required by law.
I'm well aware of
Inspector.
that, Miss Fraser, and Sergeant Barrett's knowledge of the law is well established.
I will not tolerate police bully tactics, Inspector.
Pete asked Sergeant Barrett to leave his thumbscrews downstairs. Miss Fraser. How you feeling?
Okay.
Do you want something? Cup of tea?
Oh, yeah, I'd like that, some tea.
Pete?
Right, if I make a pot.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, Jean. Miss Fraser, welfare, WPC Evans. DI4 requires a female presence downstairs. Hello. What's your name?
His name's Duncan.
Duncan? Well, Duncan Campbell? Can't get more Scottish than that, can you? But your middle name's Hamish. Ian? Alistair? Jockstrap? No? With a name like Campbell, you're bound to end up in the soup. Do you mind if I perch? Been the wars, have you? I've just been working with a Scotsman. Name of Croft. Here's a funny thing.
He told me you lot put salt in your porridge. Wasn't a believed out, was I? That's true, he was fond of his oats. Cut that, did you? What on?
A piece of glass.
Recently?
Are you a policeman?
That's right.
You've come to take my dad away.
So?
So that's what all this was laid on for, wasn't it? Get the family round the table, discuss the pros and cons.
Make it sound like the student union and the next item on the agenda.
It has to be discussed.
Why?
I think it's called common courtesy.
Oh, my sacred aunt.
I beg your pardon?
Look, I have a family, and I'm sure they're just as concerned about me as you all appear to be about Steve. But when I informed them that I was leaving home, they agreed quite readily. You see, they recognise the need.
The need for what, may I ask?
To cut the apron strings, leave the nest, stand on my own 2 feet.
Your family helps support you.
Financially, yes.
So you're not exactly independent, are you?
No, not entirely. But I'm learning.
What do you think?
It's your life?
He was going to do me in, I know he was. You could see it in his face, he wanted to throttle me.
That's when you struck him?
I just grabbed the nearest thing to hand.
The vodka bottle?
I'd have used anything.
The bottle was on the sideboard?
I remember his face all twisted. And his eyes. It was awful.
He actually had his hand at your throat when you struck him?
Yeah, he must have done. It was all going red. I could feel my eyes bulging. I couldn't breathe.
He only used one hand?
Don't know. I think so.
And you reached behind you for the bottle?
Yeah, I must have done, yeah.
How many times did you strike your husband, Mrs. Campbell? Can you remember?
Oh, no. Not really, no.
But it was several times.
I don't know. It's all blurred.
Where did you stop hitting him? Can you remember that?
No, not clearly, no.
Or was it when the bottle broke?
Must have been.
Did you examine your husband after he fell?
No, I just rushed straight out the house.
To Mr. Hakins?
Yeah.
Why Mr. Hakins? Is he a friend?
No, but he's got a telephone. Huh? What's going to happen to me?
We'll get you to a hospital.
After that?
You'll be asked to make a formal statement.
You'll lay charges against me?
Yes.
And put me away?
You'll be remanded. We'll arrange legal aid.
Oh, God.
Yes, well, no doubt your lawyer will make application for bail.
Bail? There'll be a trial. I'll get convicted.
The law is not inhuman, Mrs. Campbell. It was quite obviously self-defense. You've got every chance of an acquittal.
I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't. It's like a nightmare. I can't believe it.
There. A couple of cheers. Sorry.
My dad's not a bad man.
Isn't he?
Not really.
What time do you come to bed?
6:30.
And what time's your dad get home? Do you know?
At 7. He always comes home at 7. Unless he's in prison.
Oh, I think we'd be better making a move.
Do I need anything?
Just some personal toilet gear.
And some clean underwear.
Yes, I'll help you sort out a few things.
Did you get dragged away from a party?
Our family get-together.
You look ever so nice.
Thank you.
My dad doesn't like going to prison. He hates it.
Has he been to prison a lot of times, huh?
Yes.
Why was that?
I think he steals things.
Oh. Did your father and mother have a lot of rows?
You had my father, yes.
Do you ever hit your mother?
Sometimes.
Do you know why?
I don't think he liked my mum very much.
Did he ever hit you?
Sometimes.
Or when you've been naughty?
Sometimes.
Did he ever hit you when you hadn't been naughty? Why was that?
I don't think he liked me very much.
What would he do?
He takes his belt off to me.
Do that often? When was the last time?
Tonight.
Can I see where he hit you? I have to insist, Duncan. I want the lady to see it.
You won't tell, will you? You won't tell?
No. I won't tell. family. They on your visiting list?
Yes. Yes, they are.
You do a great job.
That is both unjust and unnecessary, Sergeant.
Yeah. So is that. Where's Maggie?
Upstairs, bedroom. Just keeping an eye on Mrs. Campbell. There's a funny atmosphere in this house, isn't there?
Funny. There's nothing funny about that sadistic bastard. He deserved everything he got. She mentioned a boy. The state he's in.
What do you want about?
Go take a look. Your son has been beaten bloody, Mrs. Campbell, but you don't say a word. Why's that?
I didn't like to.
Good morning.
Oh, no, thanks, Win. No, honestly.
You didn't touch the game pie I left for you.
I didn't really feel like it.
You attend the post-mortem?
Tea or coffee?
Oh, tea, yeah. Look, don't bother. It's all right.
Stay where you are. You look all in.
It's a long night.
Oh. Toast?
No, thanks, Dad. No, thanks. So, how'd the dinner go?
Fine.
Once more with feeling.
Well, seeing as the whole object was for you to meet Karen, get to know her. Without you, it was a bit like,
What?
Oh, a bit like Tarzan without Jane.
You lost me.
Yeah, I could have lost him happily, too.
Who?
Tarzan Turnbull, thumping his chest and swinging from the light bulb. Do you know, if we'd have had a fish tank, he would have dived into it for effect.
Mike?
Oh, Steve.
Don't believe it.
He was chivying them along a bit, that's all.
He made me look a real Charlie.
Didn't need a lot of help, though, did he?
Oh, thank you.
You're jealous.
Do you know, it's a fat lot of support you get round here. Excuse me.
Is he serious?
It's adolescents, dear. Their blood gets overheated and it affects their glands.
He thinks he's in love.
Absolute rubbish. He needs a cold bath. I don't know why I bother cooking for you.
Oh, sorry, Win, I'm just not very hungry. What's she like, then?
Karen?
She's a nice girl. Bright as a button. Good looking, too. I thought she might have been a bit horsey-like, you know, coming from Epsom.
She's intelligent, articulate, very progressive, and full of self-confidence, with a very bright future ahead of her, I shouldn't wonder.
Meaning what?
Meaning, I suspect she'll have him, but she'll not keep him long. She's very spirited, and she'll take advantage of any man who lacks experience. The experience of knowing when to give a loose rein or when to check her in. I can understand Steve being attracted to her, but I fancy she'll throw him the moment she has a mind to.
What do I do, then? Give him my blessing?
You let him find out the hard way. Let him suffer a few knocks. Besides, making him choose between you and her will only confuse him more than he is already.
Well, he'll have to simmer for a bit. I'm not up to solving domestic problems, not now. Oh, I've got too much on my plate.
Keep thinking about that kid.
Stop brooding about it. It's over, done. The man's dead.
Is the path report in yet?
Well, Campbell?
Yeah.
No, why? You were there when they opened him up. No doubt about cause of death, was there?
Oh, none. Compound fracture of the cranium resulting in severe damage to the brain cortex behind the tissue.
He had his head bashed in. The report will only contain a lot more of that sort of jargon. What's your problem?
Well, in layman's terms, he was struck several times from above and behind.
So?
He was allegedly strangling Mrs. Campbell at the time.
You mean you've got doubts?
I don't think it's possible.
All right, see. How tall was this Campbell?
That's a bit early. Twist my arm.
5'11"?
5'11". She was a bit shorter, right? Attempting to strangle me.
Means, motive, finding the opportunity. Right, Anne?
Right.
Yeah, all right. If you're going to be clever, come closer.
How close?
That's close enough. How's that?
Looks awkward.
Feels unnatural.
Oh, I don't know.
I think you'd better have another word with Mrs. Campbell.
Right.
You should get abreast of the Times, me dear. Study some of the reports. Some women get to like it. Glare all you like, it's a fact. What you lot call foreplay. Slap and tickle with the emphasis on the slap. They end up craving for it. You see, it arouses some primeval urge to be dominated. Morning, Gov.
Good, Jack.
Mum's in one of her moods.
It was a long night.
Yes, I understand. I thought I'd go busy myself. I want to give Chalker a pull.
Yeah?
Yes, nothing specific, but I've had a whisper. I want to give him a shake, see what drops off. Okay.
Sure. Oh, by the way, Jack, you got the Elphick file?
Elphick? Who's he?
It's on remand, Brixton. Robbery with violence.
Why would I have it?
Only asking. It's gone missing. It's coming off trial. We're going to need it.
Search me.
It's all right. It'll turn up.
Oh, Mr. Hakins. Good morning. This is CID, 7 Dials. Yes, well, apart from thanking you for going to the assistance of Mrs. Campbell last night, I wondered, would it be convenient for you to call in? Yes, that's right. Well, we would need a statement. Is that possible? Thank you very much, Mr. Hakins. Goodbye. Jake.
She's downstairs. Mrs. Campbell.
You busy?
Well, I've got the neighbour, Mr. Akins, coming in. Maggie asked me to deal with him.
CRO report on Campbell, path report. Carson and I will be downstairs.
Interesting?
Very.
He got home at 7. I could see the mood he was in. He started on me as soon as he got in the door.
Do you mean physically? He started to hit you?
Well, no, it was all verbal to begin with.
Then he got violent?
Eventually, yeah.
7 o'clock was his usual time?
Yeah.
It never varied?
No. See, he finished work at 5:30 and then he'd cycle back.
Where from?
He was a capstan lathe operator at Froggett's, the engineering works.
The journey home took him an hour and a half?
No, he used to stop off for a drink.
Any particular pub?
Yeah, the Red Lion. It's about...
Was your husband a heavy drinker, Mrs. Campbell?
Never been into a pub with him.
But there was always drink in the house?
There was a bottle in the house, yeah.
Vodka?
Or whiskey.
Was it a vodka bottle you reached for last night?
Yes.
Had he been drinking out of that bottle?
He had some out of it, yeah.
Last night? Had he been drinking
Yeah,
vodka out of that
some.
bottle last night?
Some.
How much can you remember?
No, not really.
Mrs. Campbell, I know this is difficult for you, but we really must have a more explicit account of what took place last night.
I've told you all I know.
No, I don't think you have.
What do you want?
I want you to sit here and I want you to try to recall as many details as you can. I want you to get a much clearer picture in your mind. Do you think you can do that?
Oh, I've tried.
You must have the facts, Mrs. Campbell.
But I've told you everything.
Think about it. Would you like some coffee?
No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I don't want any bloody coffee, I'm sure.
Any show?
Not yet.
Report.
Yeah.
Right, leave a message. Join us in there.
Mr. Akins turns up. Give us a nod, will you?
Okay. She's lying.
About what?
She claims her husband had been drinking. Path report contradicts that flatly.
Blood alcohol level 83 milligrams over 100 millilitres. Urine test 108 mg. That's equivalent to what, a pint of lager?
About that.
Stomach contents. Last meal ingested approximately 2 hours before death. Undigested particles of bread, cheese and onions.
Yeah, which proves what?
There were dinner plates on that table used. Bits and pieces on the carpet. Something like stew, blanket or hot pot.
So she and the boy have had an evening meal together?
Easily checked. Where's Duncan now?
St. Thomas's.
All right, get on to the ward sister. Ask her to have a word with the boy. Want to know what he had for supper last night and when. Then get on to Abbott, see if he lifted any prints off that bottle. You know what I'm thinking.
I know what you're thinking, Gov. Violence runs in families, like father, like son. But you're wrong.
Start checking. I've got an idea.
Mrs. Campbell, there's still quite a few details that are not quite clear in my mind. Now, what we'd like to do to help us and to help you is to stage a reconstruction. Would you be agreeable to that?
Reconstruction?
If you could show us exactly what happened.
You mean physically?
It would help clear out some of the discrepancies. How are your ribs?
Oh, they're still very painful.
Well, the doctors looked at the x-rays. There's nothing fractured, but they are badly bruised.
Where would this reconstruction take place?
Well, we could do it here, in this room. Naturally, we'd only ask you to walk through it, just to go through the motions.
Is there a catch? You looking to catch me out?
Well, there's nothing underhand, if that's what you're thinking. We have to assume that everything you've told us to date is the truth as you remember it. Now, a reconstruction demonstrated by you could only help lend support to your account.
I see. Yes.
Gee. She acting?
Let's see how she copes on the night.
No such thing as a mundane question of murder inquiry, sister. Yeah, thank you. You've been a great help. Is it? Thank you and goodbye.
Well?
Had his supper at 6. Fish fingers.
What did Forensic say about these?
Red stew on the plates and carpets confirmed.
As what?
Beef stew.
I wanted in writing.
What for?
A recipe book.
Ah, the prodigal sergeant.
Oh, more like the galloping bloody gourmet. Look, what am I supposed to do with these?
Jake, organise team, get him over to Campbell's workplace, engineering firm Froggett's. Want statements from foreman, charge hand, anyone who knew him either at work or socially. Now, somewhere between Byron Road and Froggett's is a pub, Red Lion. Get someone to have a word with the publican. You know what we're after. It's all down habits. But I would like team back here relatively sober. Understood? Just warn him. You contact Abbott?
He's waiting for you.
Downstairs?
Right.
You speak to him?
Not yet.
Could prove interesting.
If he hasn't found Mrs. Campbell's prints on that bottle, what then?
Then we start looking for a third person. Was that about it?
Is that right, Pete?
It's the best I can do.
Now, you know what a tolerant sort of bloke I am. Doesn't need me to tell you it only requires one of you to interview the governor of the Red Lion. But have a bevy by all means. And if you get back here woozy, I'll have you breathalyzed and run you in. You got it?
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
Where you go. Mr. Akins. Thanks, George.
I'm sorry I'm late, but my widower has got this gammy leg.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Akins.
I have difficulty with my trouser legs.
Take a seat, sir.
Are you going to be handling my particulars then?
That's right.
Well, it was a young lady I dealt with on the phone.
I'm afraid she's not in the office at the moment, sir. Sorry about that.
I had the bath and everything.
No, it wasn't there.
Where then?
That way a bit more. Yeah. I think that's where it was originally.
Good. Chairs?
I got moved around.
Right, so long as you're happy, OK? Now, it's 7 o'clock and your husband comes through the door. Mr. Abbott has agreed to be your husband, all right, bud? Now, where were you at this moment, Mrs. Campbell?
Well, I think I was sat down.
Where?
Well, I think it must have been at the table.
Right, your son, Duncan, is upstairs in bed and you've just eaten, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Your husband comes home. What's the first thing he does?
He goes for me.
Is that when the row starts?
Yeah.
Well, how do you react to this? Well, did you stand up?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I was scared.
Why were you scared this time? You've had rows before, haven't you?
Well, I could see the mood he'd been in. He was drinking. Never could tell how it would take him. I mean... Oh, one time he'd be amicable.
What do you mean, sexual?
He'd want to make love, yeah. He'd make advances sexually. Didn't matter whether you felt like it or not. Wasn't wise to say no. And then, you know, another time, he'd treat me like he couldn't stand the sight of me. He'd fly into a rage for no reason at all. Take his paddy out on me or the kid. It was like he was two different people.
That's the first thing he did verbally?
Yeah.
What did he do physically?
He heads for the sideboard.
Did you get a drink?
Yes. Glasses are in the sideboard.
What was the argument about? Can you remember, Mrs. Campbell?
He was going on about me and Duncan, about how sick and tired he was of us, how we was constantly dragging him down.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, like a millstone round his neck. Called me a useless bitch, except his language was riper than that. And then he said he was going to go upstairs and sort out the kid.
Why? What had Duncan done?
Oh, nothing. Didn't need an excuse. He just said he was going to work up an appetite.
Did you try to stop him?
Yes. Yeah. I went upstairs after him. And I tried to grab hold of his belt, but he gave me a backhander and knocked me down the stairs. And that's when I did this.
When the mood took him, he was a right animal. I don't know how she put up with him, evil little bastard.
Yeah, I've seen the boy. According to our Gumphrey, was mild-mannered.
Mild-mannered? Oh, never. Who are we talking about?
Campbell. Ronald Campbell.
Well, Ron Campbell's dead.
Now, I want you to try and remember exactly what happened. Now, he's throttling you and you're beginning to lose consciousness. You reach behind you for the bottle and you swing it.
No, stay where you are, Mrs. Campbell. I want to put a theory to the test. Pete, cop. Mrs. Campbell, how tall's your son?
How tall? I don't know.
Well, come on, you must have some idea. I mean, is he this high? More? Less? Call it 4'6". Pete, hop in the chair. Now you're going to have to lose some height, yeah? That's clever. Right, now swing the bottle. That's more like it, yeah?
You see, Mrs. Campbell, all the forensic evidence points to the blows being delivered from above and behind. Is that what happened, Mrs. Campbell?
What are you saying?
I'm suggesting that it was your son that wielded that bottle, standing on a chair like that. All right, Pete, you can get down, Bud. Well, would you like to revise your account now, Mrs. Campbell?
Oh, no.
Mrs. Campbell.
Jean.
Oh.
I wasn't describing Ron Campbell, no. Ron might have spent a lot of time inside, but he's no villain. More of a victim. I mean, he's been in and out of institutions, Borstal, jails all his life. I often thought it was as if, well, when things got too much for him on the outside, he'd do something deliberate like, get himself put away. I wasn't talking about Ron. I was talking about the other one, the paramour.
The paramour?
Leonard, the lover boy. Mrs. Campbell, Leonard he called her. Well, she's been having a thing with him for years. Regular ménage à trois.
Surname?
Oh, Price.
Workplace?
Leave off.
We know where he lives.
Well, look, son, have a thought. I'm knocking on 70. I can't afford to get too deeply involved. It's all right if you're young and fit, but how am I supposed to protect myself if he was to come after me,
No,
eh?
he won't unless you tell him. But I do understand, so don't worry, we'll get him. We've got ways and means. The address?
Macefield Road, number 9.
Edmund,
Look, Mum, I'm sorry about this morning. I was feeling a bit, you know...
A bit out of sorts, me too.
All forgiven?
No, nothing to forgive.
Well, all forgotten, then?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Don't you ever come off duty?
Do you know, sometimes I ask myself the same question.
Would you like something?
No, nothing, thank you. Sorry, but I didn't mean to sound a bit tired.
I'm having a drink. Care to join me?
Yes, yes, why not? Why not?
You're worried about Steve?
Worried, no. Concerned, yes.
About his future?
About what he sees as his future.
Have you thought about yours? Or mine?
Well,
now, that probably sounds a bit unfair, but, well, you know me. I'd rather things were brought out into the open and given an airing than left to ferment. No offence.
Oh, no, you're right. I didn't think. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't apologise, love. I'm the one in the wrong.
Wrong? I don't understand. What?
Well, apart from a general misconception as to how you lived, conducted your life, I had no idea the sort of demands your job made on you. I played guilty. I was ignorant of the facts. Anyway, what I'm getting around to saying is, I think you'd be better off on your own. Without me, that is. So, I've decided to go back to Herne Bay. No, don't say anything, just hear me out. I can't abide sentimentality. It's a sign your brain's softening. I just think it's time you were mistress in your own... No, I shouldn't have put it like that, should I? But you know what I mean. The last thing you need is some old dragon like me running your home. I suppose I'm just naturally bossy. Anyway, I've made up my mind.
What about Dad?
Oh, I'm not speaking for George. He's old enough to make his own mind up.
But you have discussed it with him.
He does look to me for guidance on occasions.
Mrs. got to name him. I think she's ready for the final push.
Gov?
No, Jack.
I apologise for putting you through that ordeal yesterday, but you've had time to think, and you must realise that it was necessary. You see, Mrs. Campbell, your account of what happened conflicts with just about every piece of evidence that we've gathered. Now, we have the injuries to the head, the death wounds. Both the angle of attack and the remnants of glass and the position of the glass fragments on the floor help to convince us that you could not possibly have delivered those blows. So who did? Now, forensic evidence has established that while you prepared and served a meal for 2 people, neither your husband on your own evidence nor your son ate that particular meal. So who did? We have your husband's prison records. Psychiatrist reports, sworn statements from workmates and colleagues, all of them describing a rather shy person, withdrawn, a dreamer, a bit vain, no record of violence, a non-drinker. You said that your husband came home drunk and went upstairs and beat your son, Duncan, correct?
Yes,
That's not possible, is it, Mrs. Campbell? Now, when your husband's body was taken away and examined, he was found to be wearing a lightweight belt that could not possibly have caused the lacerations on your son's back. They were made by the buckle of a much heavier belt. Now, who was wearing that belt when you tried to grab hold of it and were thrown down the stairs? Are you prepared to name the person responsible, Mrs. Campbell? I must impress upon you, Mrs. Campbell, that you could be facing some very serious charges. We know that you're shielding a man. Now, when that man is caught, and he will be, you have my word for it, that he will be facing a charge of murder, and you will be standing in that dock alongside him as an accessory. Now, you can no longer plead self-defense, but you can begin to defend yourself by telling me the truth.
You mean you've changed?
Ah, well, you didn't know me when I was nimble, did you? No, I've had to come to terms, adapt, and not only physically. I missed London until I got back, and then I found that the London that I'd missed hadn't been there for a long time. It had been changing, and I hadn't noticed it. Or else I was too polite.
You saying you want to go back?
I'm saying I can't wait. Now, what am I? A cripple banged up in a Battersea flat. I'm not even capable of getting outside without help. And if I was, I'd be petrified.
Oh, come on.
No, I mean it. I'll tell you something. I haven't been out to collect my old age pension since I've been up here. And what are you, a policeman, going to say to me, an OAP? That the streets of London are safe? That I'm an old dodderer who's heard so much and read so much about violent crime that I'm prepared to believe that it's a nightmare world for old people out there and it's not true? That I'm imagining it?
No.
Wynne is my shepherd. I shan't go short. She'll look after me. Oh, she'll boss me about a bit, of course, but I can live with that. You may think of it as a costa geriatrica. You're entitled. Me? I think of it as home. And I can't wait to get back.
She named him.
What are you waiting for?
Got a feeling he might try resisting arrest.
Jake, want him back here in one piece.
Well, naturally.
You want to go along?
No. No, thanks.
Slag Campbell offers has been carried out. Won't forgive myself for that.
Shall we go?
Miss Fraser?
Sergeant?
Why didn't you tell me my dad was dead?
Didn't like to.
I can't get the images out of my mind. Of a woman being thrown downstairs and lying there while her 10-year-old son is beaten like a dog. Then putting food in front of the man who did it, the man she calls her lover. The husband, a mild-mannered man who comes home and dares to raise his voice in protest. This lover takes a bottle and staves his head in, and then beats the woman until she agrees to take the blame. Elaine Campbell, me. Same sex. Both mothers. Should be empathy. Go for a walk.
Maggie?
Yes.
Nothing.
Duncan, do you know that man?
Yes,
Who is it?
that's my father.
Rice! Stay with the kid!
Not the other bloody way! Resist, you bastard. Resist. Ah! Ah!
You all right, Gov?
Something in my eye.
Stand up, Price.
He demanded to see you, Gov.
What for?
I want to make a complaint. He wants to make a complaint.
Against who?
Him. Bastard!
Why?
He claims he was done over.
Was he?
He claims he's sustained 3 broken ribs.
How?
Heavy tackle.
Bastard liar!
Well, let's have a look at your mitt. It's all right. You see anything?
We're going a fair lick.
I said, do you see anything?
No.
Was he out of order?
No.
Did he come quietly?
No.
All right, then. Call a doctor. Hang him up, number 4.
Oh, number 4 had a bunch of winos in it. Not very sanitary. They haven't got round to mopping up the floor yet, Go.
They will, in time. Go on, wheel him up. Jake, seem to recall that in your boxing days you always saved the left for the knockout. Have the doctor take a look at it. And we've got him. Like you'd follow through, yeah?
Will do. And thank you.
Any complaints?
Yes.
Can you operate one of these? All complaints must be in writing. What's going to happen to him?
He'll be taken into care.
Is that it? That his future?
It's really not as grim as you make it out to be, Sergeant. We place hundreds of children in care successfully. They survive, and the majority grow up to become decent, law-abiding adults.
Any chance of him being fostered?
We'll have to await the outcome of the trial before we can even think of foster parents.
Is Price Duncan's father?
Oh, very definitely. The husband, Campbell, was serving a 2-year prison sentence, during which time Duncan was conceived and born.
So when Duncan was telling me that his dad wasn't a bad man, but his father didn't like him, you understood?
Yes,
You might have told me.
I would have, given the opportunity.
And that old chestnut.
Sorry?
Forget it.
Leonard Price.
Who wants to know?
Detective Inspector Forbes.
Can I see your credentials?
I understood you were in pain.
Oh, I am.
Seeing a masochist is no skin off my nose.
Hang about. Wait a minute. Are you threatening me?
If you don't want to talk, you can go back to your cell.
Look, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Was that a question or a statement?
Are you in charge of this case?
I think you would be wise to make a statement.
She trying to implicate me?
I think you would be wise to make a statement regarding
I was
your
there, all
movements
right?
on-
I was there. So what?
According to Mrs. Campbell...
I was there. Are you listening? I'm telling you, I was there. She got hysterical. She hit him. He went down. Boom. What's she trying to say? That I done it? Hey? Is that what she's saying?
In a word.
She's lying. In her teeth. No one's sticking this on me. No one. I don't care what she said. It's all bollocks. If you want an alternative body, you look elsewhere. Leave me out. I want nothing to do with it. And where's my brief?
What's his name?
Wouldn't you like to know?
You will be charged with a murder.
Ah, you're out of your
Campbell. We
mind.
have evidence.
Ah, go pork yourself! Why are you doing this to me? You know I'm innocent. I mean, what do you think you're on? Dragging me off the street, putting the boot in? That'll look good in the press, won't it? He came home drunk. He started laying into her. She picks up a bottle and whacks him. Now, she must have told you that.
Oh, she did.
Well.
Well, we didn't believe her.
Are you calling me a liar?
I don't think you're well, Mr. Price. The doctor's on his way.
What did she say then?
All right, let's have your story.
Where's your evidence?
We found Mrs. Campbell's fingerprints on this, but then we were meant to, weren't we? Now, we believe that you wiped this clean, then you handed it to Mrs. Campbell like this, leaving one perfect fingerprint inside the bottle.
Now, where's your evidence?
The remains of the original bottle are in safekeeping. Get an ambulance.
We're just off. I wanted to say goodbye.
Thank you, Miss Fraser, for all your cooperation.
Not at all. One does what one can. It's Not always easy, but we do try. We do our best in the circumstances.
And while you're doing your best in the circumstances, has anyone thought to ask Duncan what he wants to do?
Mrs. Forbes, please.
What is it you want to do, Duncan?
I want to do what everyone does.
What's that?
I want to go home.
You've got to be very grown-up now. Come along. Please, Inspector, don't make things more difficult than they are.
You know, sometimes I think...
Don't say it.